Welcome back, guys. Today we are working on chicken bone broth in the kitchen here. The bone broth we're making today, I'm going to be freeze drying once it's done, and after we finish it and powder it up, it's going to be going into these little mylar sleeves that I think I got on Amazon actually. I'll be carrying 1 or 2 of these a day for every day that I am hiking this year out on the Appalachian Trail. So I plan to mix up my diet and what I'm eating most days, but this bone broth will be something that I consistently drink once, maybe twice a day while I'm out there. And I know I'm saying that now. Check in with me like 2 or 3 months into the hike if I'm sick of it at that point and I don't want to drink it. But I do drink this as often as I make it and have it available. I drink it daily at home, so I imagine I won't get too sick of it out there, but we shall see. I don't really have a recipe for my bone broth. It's different every single time I make it. If you have been here before and you're familiar with the channel, you know that every single time I cook something, when I have any scraps, ends left over, actually today, just earlier I was making like a little chopped salad, and I had the ends of shallots and the ends of my cucumbers and some celery leaves left over. I'm gonna be taking that, mixing it with the excessive number of bags that I had in my freezer. I went to pull out and see how many bags I had in the freezer of scraps, and I knew it was getting full, but I didn't realize quite how many I had. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bags of fruit and vegetable scraps, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 bags of chicken carcasses, plus I have leftover turkey and the turkey carcass from Thanksgiving that was in the freezer. And then one thing that I always add to my bone broth, in addition to all of this, is chicken feet. I add a different amount of chicken feet each time. I guess I just go with how it feels at that moment. This time I'm going to be doing 2 containers of these. Let's see how many. This is 1.5 pounds, so I have 3 pounds of chicken feet that I'll be adding. Something that I haven't done before that I'm going to do this time a little differently actually is roast some of my vegetables and bones ahead of time. I saw somebody else roast their chicken bones on a different Appalachian Trail through hiking Facebook group, and his bone broth looked so much better than mine. It looked so deep and delicious and so just rich and thick, and I thought, well, I gotta start trying that. Today we're gonna be roasting half of the feet. I'm gonna leave the other half unroasted just so I don't suppose we'll lose too much of the collagen by roasting, but just in case. I've never done this before. We're experimenting, so I'm gonna leave half of them unroasted, just raw, the other half roasted. I'm gonna roast some of the carcasses and some of the vegetables, and then I'll throw everything in a pot and simmer it. It really is very simple. We have the feet here. I know they look a little weird, but they're clean, they're sanitary. I mean, not really sanitary, there's probably salmonella all over them, but there is there's no dirt, there's no feces, there's nothing like that. They're fully cleaned, ready to be roasted. I'm going to be roasting them at 400 degrees for, I don't know, maybe 20 to 40 minutes. We'll see when they start turning brown. I've not done it before, so I don't know how long these will roast for. We're just gonna go with that. I'll let you know afterward how long I roasted it. As I'm pulling these out of the bags, I am realizing I'm pretty sure these are actually ham bones from when I made ham. So this is going to be a ham chicken bone broth. I don't know if you're supposed to mix them or not. Honestly, I don't really care. I don't know how that'll turn out. There's going to be definitely way more fat on this that I'll have to skim off the top later, but you know, the more marrow, the better. I'm not really concerned about it. As you can see, I had way too much stuff, so I decided I probably needed to do 2 pots this time, and quite frankly, I could have used 3, but I just don't have the space on my stove for 3, so we're gonna go with 2 pots, and they're just going to be very crammed full, which is not really a big problem. Something I really like to add into my bone broth that isn't leftovers is ginger. So I have a bunch of ginger roots here, and I'm just going to cut them up a little bit so there's more surface area for the water to hit and for it to seep through. And I'll throw just half in each pot. And then in the fridge that I haven't pulled out yet, I have tamarind paste. Actually, I'll show you that. Tamarind paste I like to put in there. I think it just adds a nice flavor, a nice kind of sour, acidic flavor, along with, you know, bone broth can be a little bit bland sometimes if you don't spice it up enough or put enough aromatics or things with flavor in there. So I like to make sure to do that. And then the other thing I always put in is some type of acid. Now, normally that's a little bit of a mix of lemons. I'll put, you know, just slice up some different lemons and squeeze them up a little bit. Put that in there, and some apple cider vinegar. This time I realized I have some red wine sitting next to my stove that I had used for cooking a while ago, and it needs used up. I'm not gonna drink it. So although it would probably be much better with a beef broth than a chicken broth, I'm just gonna go ahead and add that in to get rid of it and use it up, and hopefully it mixes well in there. This really is, whenever I make bone broth, and you can do the same thing, it really is just kind of like a kitchen sink kind of thing, where I throw in whatever I have, experiment. I've never really had a bad batch. There have been some batches that are maybe a little less flavorful than others, and some batches that I may have overcooked a little bit, so they weren't as good, and they certainly weren't as gelatinous afterward. But really, I don't think you can do too much wrong when it comes to bone broth. I think these are nice and roasted. They're not super deep, dark. I know some people like to roast them until they are just about like blackened and burnt. I think I'm gonna stick with right about this level. One, because I don't want to lose too much of the collagen, and two, because I'm impatient and I'm ready to put them in now. So I'll put just, oh, they're sticking a little. Ugh. We'll do, I think there's 14, so maybe 7 and 7, 2, 3, 7. Okay. You can probably hear the sizzling of the ham bones back there, the bacon from there. These onion skins are nice and crispy brown. Got eggshells in there. Adding a little bit of calcium. I have a hard time fitting the actual bones in here. I have so much going on. This is just a rotisserie chicken that I didn't end up finishing. So I've got a lot of chicken meat in there to go in there as well. This one ham hock in there. Stick the other one in here. All right, I have all of the roasted bones, all of the raw bones, all of the roasted veggies, all of the raw veggies. I'm just gonna glug a couple glugs of this red wine into that one, and then some into that one. I don't know if that's enough acid. I'll probably end up putting a little bit of vinegar in there anyway. And then throw a few bay leaves in. I don't know, does a bay leaf actually do anything? I have no idea, but I'm never not gonna put it in, so. Well, they're small, but like 5 in that one. I don't know how many I put in there, 3 or 4 or 5 in that one. And then I'll just fill it to the top with water. This is gonna be a little while. Hold on, I'll be right back. I have them pretty much filled up, and it looks disgusting. I've got beets in there and the red wine, so the color is gonna be pretty deep red, I think. And I'm just gonna put it on maybe medium-high heat for a little bit till it warms up. And then once it starts bubbling, I'm gonna put it down to low. I'll let it cook overnight, and then when I wake up in the morning, I'll go ahead and strain this, and actually I'll just show you tomorrow morning what it looks like and what I'm gonna do with it. All right, good morning. It is the next morning, and we are ready to check and see what this stuff looks like. I haven't taken the lids off yet. I will say, looking outside this morning, it is snowing right now, so it kind of feels like the perfect day to be making and maybe having some bone broth. We've had it going nice and low all night. Looks like that lemon is, all the juice out of that lemon has cooked out. And there's, I can see it on the top here, that's just a ton of fat right up top, it looks like. Up through there. Let's see if I can pull up a, yeah. There's a chicken foot. It looks like, I mean, this is still pretty whole. I know you're not supposed to cook it down too long, but it seems like it could use at least a little bit longer and let those feet break down a little bit. I don't want to not take the opportunity to get as much of that collagen out as possible. So I'm gonna let this go a few more hours, at least this one. Let's check the other one. Same thing, you can see the grease on the top, and the chicken feet are kind of still pretty intact. So same, I'm just gonna give this a little bit more time, maybe a few more hours to break down, get it nice and stirred up, and I'll probably take the opportunity to just kind of smash some of those feet a little bit and break them up, and hopefully that'll help break down the collagen a little bit as well. It's been a few more hours than what I said from the beginning. I had to work earlier and did not have time over my lunch break or anything to work on this. So it is now 5:30, so it's been closer to 24 than 12 hours. And we're gonna go ahead and get this strained. And how I'm gonna do that is just take, I have this little like colander spoon, and I'm gonna just scoop out as much as I can from the pots first and get them, just all I'm doing is taking it and putting it in some different containers, and with all the scraps, I'll just throw them out to our ducks. So each of these things, I'm using scraps in here, so they've already been used once in one meal. Then they're being used a second time to make this bone broth, and then they'll be used a third time to feed our ducks. So talk about sustainability. This food is getting a lot of miles for what we paid for it. It takes it a few minutes to drain. It'd probably be easier actually to just take a big scoop and put like a regular colander in one of these pots or pans or containers and do it that way. But this is just the way that I do it. Sometimes I make things harder than they need to be, and yeah, this is just how I'm doing it. This is gonna take a while. I'll be back when it's done. I've gotten through the first pot. Now we're on to the second one. I've taken all of the big chunks that I could get out, and now I'm in the straining process. I don't think you necessarily have to do this process. It just helps to give you a clearer, more refined type of broth, and if like all the sediment and different things doesn't end up in the broth. It's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's that sediment and everything is probably good. It probably adds a little bit of extra fiber, nutrients, that sort of thing. But I don't know, I kind of just like to strain it. It makes it prettier. Now, I filled another one this size from the first pot, and it is currently outside cooling. What I'm trying to accomplish with that is to get the fat to rise to the top and to solidify so that I can skim the fat off the top. What we should be left with underneath of that fat is a nice kind of gelatinous, floppy liquid when it's cool, and then when it is at its room temperature or heated up, it turns back into a regular liquid. It is now the next morning, so we're on day 3, I believe, of making this bone broth, and It could have been mostly finished last night, or it could have gone into the freeze dryer last night. And I prepped most of the trays last night, except this one right here. But I did not film it because I was so upset last night, so mad. And it was completely my fault. Let me tell you what happened last night. I told you I took the roasters that had the bone broth in them and set them outside because it was so cold, and I figured it would it would refrigerate it and all the fat would come to the top and I could just skim it off and it would be great. It would work out well. And in my head, I'm thinking, wait a minute, transfer it into a different container because those roasters don't have lids. You can't put it out there without a lid. Something is going to get into it. And I overrode my brain and said, just shut up. It'll be fine. It's a couple hours. Nothing is going to happen. Don't worry about it. I should have listened to my brain because 3 hours later when I went, and I had checked on it like 2 or 3 times the whole time and it was fine. No big deal. There were no animals walking around outside. It was too cold for that. Apparently it wasn't. I go and I pick one of the roasters up and bring it inside and I'm like, how is there still a bone in there? There's no way I left a bone in there. There was something floating at the top and then it hit me. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It was a mouse. A mouse jumped in to one of the roasters and drowned itself in the bone broth. So we lost the entire roaster that I put out there of bone broth. That was a ton of work and there's a ton of great nutrients in there. If I put that roaster out for the ducks, they'll jump inside of it and bathe in it. So I'm not going to do that. There's a little part of me that's thinking, why don't I just stick it back outside at night and catch all the stupid mice and kill them all, because I'm glad that thing is dead. I'm so mad. I mean, it's my fault. It's 100% my fault. But I'm still really mad at that mouse. But what I think I might do is, I have dehydrated vegetables and rice and all sorts of things here. I might just take all that stuff and cold soak it in all of that bone broth and let those things soak up all of the protein and nutrients, and then I might feed it to the ducks that way. I shouldn't even tell you that. I should just pretend it didn't happen and not let you know, but that's the reality. Like, it happens. If you put stuff outside without a lid on, that's what's going to happen. Don't do it. Okay. So, one that I put in our refrigerator last night, I had some that wouldn't fit in the different roasters. So here is one that was in the fridge. I'm just going to show you the little bit of fat on top. We're going to skim it. I'll show you how jiggly it is. I'll put what'll fit in the last freeze dryer tray that we have and stick it in our freezer to pre-freeze, and then I'll put it in the freeze dryer and it'll be a couple days. I'll be back to you guys in a few days with that. You can see the different coloring here. So there's more of the fat around here, not so much, actually not a ton of fat in all of this. So I'm just gonna go, if you can see how jiggly it is on the bottom, it looks beautiful. And this one has a very red color from all of the beets. And I remembered there were a bunch of, I had a ton of carrot pulp left over from some juice I made. And then, what else is red in there? Oh, the red wine. Yeah, we put red wine in here. And I did not prepare by having something to put this into. Hold on one second. What am I going to stick this in? I guess I can just set it on top because it'll float. Alright, we're losing some of the bone broth in. But taking this fat out. I probably could have taken it out in a more efficient manner. Just kind of scraped off the top, but I didn't. There we go. There's still a little fat left in there, but that's all right. Just jiggle that for you. Oh yeah, that looks good. See if I can get it on a spoon and show you. Look at that. That's nice. If I wanted it to be a little more jiggly, I could have put, there's times I've had this like solid, like you can cut it with a knife. If I want it to be that thick, I would just add some more of the feet in there and maybe even break the feet up ahead of time so that more collagen can get out of there. But right now, that's Oh yeah, that looks nice. The freeze drying process is over. We are 5 trays in of completely dried. Usually I do at least, depending. For this I did more than 24 hours of extra dry time. I don't remember how much, just to make sure it is super extra dry, because sometimes we have trouble with our freeze dryer. So how I'm going to kind of divvy all of this up, I have each one of these trays, there's 5 trays. They held somewhere between 5 and 6 cups of bone broth each. So there should be about 5 to 6 cups in each one of these. I have 25 of these little packets that I showed you guys earlier that I'm going to fill, that I will fill with the bone broth. I'm giving myself like a 1 cup, 8 ounce, whatever kind of serving per packet, and we'll see how much that actually fills the packet up, because if I get this all ground down and 1 cup worth of bone broth is only like this much, I might put a couple cups worth of bone broth in each packet, because I don't really want to waste it, I suppose. The way I am going to determine that also is, in order to get it ground very fine, I am going to mix it, blend it, powder it in my blender. I have a scale here that I am just tearing out, and let's see how many grams. I will determine how many grams are here after I have it all ground down, and then I will divide that by 25. So let's start. I've got clean, dry hands. Also very important, if you're doing this, you probably don't want to have dirty, germy hands. I mean, when I'm out there hiking, I don't foresee my hands being like the cleanest, or my pot or whatever it is, or I'm not going to be in sanitary conditions. But before I'm putting it in storage, and it is currently December 14th. So by the time I get to this, it's several months from now, we want to keep any possible germs from breeding between now and then. Something that I realized I forgot, because I was so busy talking to you guys while I was making the bone broth before all of the disasters happened, I realized I totally forgot to put any salt, or I also really like to put turmeric and black pepper into my bone broth. Turmeric is very anti-inflammatory, but it also needs the help of black pepper to make it a little more effective and bioavailable for us. You see that? That is all of those trays, between 25 and 30 cups of bone broth has condensed down after being powdered into 2 cups. It was 256 grams, which makes this pretty easy if we're doing about 25. It's only about 10 grams of that powder is what's going into each little piece. So let's see how much 10 grams looks. I do have a funnel to funnel this in, but I just feel like I'm going to lose more powder using the funnel than I would just scooping it in. So I've got this little 1/4 teaspoon, and we're going to see what it looks like. I guess I keep scooping up. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll scoop up this much, but that is not going to fit in here. So I'm going to have to do this little by little. Let's go. Whoop. Oh, this is going to be so annoying to do it this way. I may end up switching back to the funnel, because this is going to take forever. These things are tiny. What was I thinking? Oh shoot, I forgot I was going to put turmeric and pepper and some salt in here before I blended it. Oh well. This will just be the batch without it. Alright, this is taking way too long. Let's try it with the funnel. So basically, filling this completely, almost to the top, where it leaves just a little bit of space so that I can seal it. And I have, if you saw my hair straightener over there, if you're like, why is there a hair straightener on your kitchen counter? It's because that's my designated Mylar sealer straightener. So it leaves just enough room to get that sealed. And yeah, we don't have to worry about putting too much or a bunch more in here because a bunch more isn't going to fit. So I'm not going to measure these out. I'm just going to fill this until it is just about full. So we just have enough room to seal it, and we'll see how many we get out of that. This process took forever. I did take a little break in between. So it's about 7 o'clock, although it's the middle of December in Pennsylvania right now, so it's pitch black. It looks like it's 11 o'clock. But I ended up with 22 of these, and I marked them just with a little BB so that I know that it's bone broth, because I plan on using these little packets for a bunch of different things. So I've got, I did end up filling them because I didn't really measure them after the first few. So a lot of these have 12, maybe 14 grams in there, which is great. I'll have a nice, thicker, more delicious, whoops, almost lost that one. The bone broth will just be a little bit thicker. I'm not complaining about that. And then of course through the whole process you lose a little bit, like there's still some powder left in here that you can't get out, and you know, some flies all over the place. I dropped some. I was filling it and then I just dropped it and it spilled out a little bit, so did end up losing a tiny bit in there. But 22 of these little packets. I do, from the roaster that was still good and the one we had in the fridge as well, I think I ended up with maybe between 10 and 12 extra cups that wouldn't fit in the freeze dryer, and I've just been drinking that every morning. I'll put some of it in the freezer because it's probably about at its limit at this point for how long it's still good for in the fridge. I'll probably put it in the freezer and then just keep pulling it out and drinking it every morning. If you enjoy following along and seeing what I'm doing to prepare for my upcoming thru hike of the Appalachian Trail, please like this video and subscribe. And if you follow along long enough to watch me do this on trail, you can see me pop one of these bad boys open and see how it actually performs in a real world situation. See you guys then.